Hello, welcome to Tutors of Life podcast, where we research life so you don't have to. Episode 485. This is your host, Shaun Tutor.
And this is Sam. And this is a Tutor episode where we try to teach you something new.
I just got up from a nap,
A nap from putting Lily down.
a power nap. I fall asleep a lot.
Yeah, you do.
Pretty much every time I put Lily down, I fall asleep. So, fell asleep for about 15 minutes.
How you feel?
Groggy.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah, trying to reel it back.
We are in our living room because Lily is napping. And it's a snow day, so no
Sitters.
sitters.
So we are making work with what we've got.
It's also why we're in very sloppy attire today, because it's a snow day.
Yep. That makes sense. You know, there's a couple things. I'm going to start with this. Starting off early in life, there's a couple ways you can go. One way is kind of to get some income right away. And the other way is to get income on the back end. And what I mean by that is this. So, for example, like we flipped a house before moving into this. Like we lived in a house. Flipped that house. And the idea is to do the same thing with this and then roll into another house, right? So you go, you sacrifice, you live somewhere for a few years, you sell it, and you put an extra, say, $40,000 in your pocket, right? 30 to 40,000, maybe 50,000, depending in your pocket, right?
Right.
And it's a nice little like bonus thing. So this place, essentially, that was from cleaning it out and redoing it, and our last place was from finishing out the basement.
Yeah.
Which add the value, but
We did take out 2 walls in the other house.
that too. But what happened is, you know, and that's awesome, right? So that's one way. And what ended up happening was the market got stupid. So we sold that house and made really good money. And then we came into this house and, you know, it was a little more expensive than we wanted to get, but we could sell this and make good money. But the other way of doing things, in this, you know, hindsight, you can't predict these. Well, I suppose you could predict these things, maybe depending on how smart you are and how much you look at stuff. But I didn't know when we bought our first house. I didn't know what a fiat currency was.
Right.
I didn't know that the government could just print money.
Right, like they didn't have to have a reason.
Right. I didn't know they could, like, I didn't know that inflation could be more than like a few percent.
I didn't know that them printing money affected how much our dollar is worth.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yep. No, same.
I just thought they printed money to keep up with the amount of dollar bills people are using,
Right.
or replacing the ones that are old and ripped and whatever. That's what I thought.
Same.
I didn't think that it caused inflation.
Right. And in this particular case, you know, it caused, in 6 years, a house that'd sell for $250 to now be selling for $400. And so the second way, and you know, looking back on it now, it's like, man, you know, if you had a crystal ball, that would have changed everything. But the other way is to buy high in the beginning, but then you hold it long enough and you get that appreciation on the back end. So you don't get the jolts of cash, you just get the value in the asset. You know, So like my brother, he bought a nice house at the time that was like at the top of what they could afford.
Mm-hmm.
Well, now they haven't had to move. And if you actually look at the value of what they have in equity compared to the value and equity we've made by our like move and then potentially a second move, they're winning big time.
Oh yeah.
You know, it goes to show kind of the long-term hold aspect, and the longer you hold something, the better it gets. In this situation, it just was sped up drastically because of COVID and money printing and shit like that.
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah, I mean, you got a couple options to think about. You've got your quick money, and then you've got your long-term money. The thing is, for us, we get access to that money fairly quick. For them, the only way they get access to that money is like a cash out refi, which would be terribly foolish.
Right. Yeah,
The
because
only
then you have to get a new interest rate, right?
right, the
Yeah.
only like semi-viable option is a line of credit.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Which even sometimes then they make you refinance your house to get a line of credit. Sometimes.
some places I'm sure do, but that they don't have. They shouldn't need to do
Mm.
that. So, but yeah, it was just an interesting thought I had that like, you know, it's the same thing with flipping compared to holding. Flipping, you get money right away. Holding, you don't make money, and it might actually be difficult and you might have to pay in. But in 15 years, it's like, ooh, that was the right move when you go to sell it.
Right.
So things would be way different if they didn't print money.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the world we live in. Social Security is going to run out in about 7 years. So I don't know why we keep paying that.
I don't know. In hopes that it won't run out. Mm.
Mm-hmm. So, anyways, what I wanted to talk about today was making sure that when you're hiring in your business, you're not just hiring to hire because you need to scale. You're hiring to replace your time. And you want to hire based on what you don't want to do.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you're looking at making a hire,
That was really gross. The issue with this weather is Sean gets super phlegmy and it's disgusting. So yeah, that's fun. Hiring the things you
so
don't
anyways,
want to do. You can keep going.
when you hire, I'm getting some coffee too. You need to look at a couple things, and one of the things you need to look at is, are you hiring to scale, or are you hiring to replace your time? And of the time you're replacing, is it something you love to do, or is it something you hate doing? So if you're hiring for a position that you love doing, you should maybe stop and ask yourself if that's the right move. Because at the end of the day, if you have your own business and you started it, you should probably try to continue doing the things you love and not the things you hate, because you want to be energized and excited to go to work in the morning compared to being drained because you're doing a bunch of medial dumb tasks and running around not being proactive, etc. So when you're hiring, hire to replace the things you don't love. And hire, and hopefully the things you don't love are the lower end tasks. If your favorite thing is administrative tasks, you might not want to own a business.
Right, yeah.
Because admin tasks can only bring you so much revenue, or like dollar per hour. Now, if you are a skilled mason who can charge 100 plus an hour, that's something that you could do for a business. You could be the lead with like a couple helpers, and then you have somebody in the office doing all your scheduling, admin, and estimating. And then you can stay and work and do the mason work. That's a viable thing. If you love just doing little weird executive assistant admin tasks, that's going to be hard to run to build a business with. But if you like sales or something, right? So you start a business, you like sales, and you're doing the sales portion. Well, you're going to need to find somebody to do the service work or the product. You're going to need to find someone to do the marketing, somebody to do the bookkeeping, someone to do the executive assistant tasks, admin. And so then you can spend more of your time selling the product or service.
Mm-hmm.
And so you need to be strategic and not just hire a salesman because you know how to train a salesman and know how to do the sales portion. Then you go and do everything else. And then you hate your life.
Yeah.
Because I think too often, and I'm reading Buy Back Your Time by Dan Mortel, which made me think about this. Because we're in the process of hiring VA to help with some of our executive assistant tasks. My first hire in the business was an executive assistant to take those lower end tasks and the shit that clouded up my day that I hated doing out of my life. So when you look at it, are you just hiring because it's easy and you're scaling, or are you hiring the right people to take the right duties off your plate?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it plays really well into like the EOS model too. Because they say to like make sure to define the role and then put in like the people you have. So it just plays really well into that, like making sure you know what duties you don't like, what role that is, and then you can either like, let's say there's someone in your company that you're already like, hey, they're actually really great at these types of things. Let's just put them there. Or when you're hiring, then you know specifically what you want them to do. Accountability chart is what it's called in EOS.
Makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's really all I had on that.
Oh, just buy back your time. I did like how he was explaining about, like he says, Shaun just read this. What did he call it? Your something rate, buyback rate.
Yeah, your buyback rate.
Is a quarter of like what you make per hour.
Yep.
And so like he used the example.
So if you make $100,000 a year based on 2,000 hours is $100 an hour, and then a quarter of that is what you can hire people out at to take your tasks.
Hmm.
So
Yeah, so it was like not admin, but like tech support or something, wasn't it? Is that what he said?
I don't
Oh,
remember.
it was something specific, but yeah, he's like, if you can hire someone at $25 an hour to take those tasks away for you from you,
Right.
then you should do it.
Right.
And I was like, oh, that's like a good like ratio to think about.
Hmm.
I liked it.
Yeah, it's really good. I like it. Well, and the thing is too, and I've talked about this a lot. I'd rather work 10 hours a week and make 75 grand a year than work 40 hours a week and make 100.
Yeah, 100%.
You know, if I can give up 80% of my workload,
And only lose $25,000.
yeah, and lose a quarter of my paycheck, I'm like, let's go, dude. I'll
Yeah.
gladly do that. I'll just fill my time with whatever the fuck I want.
Mm. Yeah.
Or I'll fill it with more sales to grow more and make that money back.
Right. And that's like what they talk about. So EOS has like a bunch of like off like branches of books to read. So right now I'm reading The Rocket Fuel, which is about the integrator and visionary. And so like in there they discuss even like how there's some very rare people that can be both visionary and integrator. But once their companies like get to a point, they usually will take on the visionary role and hire out the integrator role because then they're able to really only focus on one portion.
Yeah.
So their company can grow 5 times in 1 year.
Yeah, I mean it's this concept, and I love this concept. People, small entrepreneurs, want to think they can have multiple businesses because people say, "Oh, get your the average millionaire has 7 streams of income," and an entrepreneur, and I'm dude.
Sean's guilty of shiny objects.
The reason, well, not just that, but the reason I can talk on this is because I'm fucking guilty of it. It's an entrepreneur does something and they think, oh, because I did one thing successfully, I can do everything successfully. So you start another business and another business and another business and another business and another business. What makes you think that you can be the CEO of 5 businesses and that you're going to be able to perform those businesses as well as your competition, who's the CEO of just the one business?
Right.
What? So, go ahead.
And you like on that you need to like, keep in mind too that you don't know if what you did like was timing, was luck, was skill, anything, or if it was just the business in general. So like you always have to take starting a new business or buying another business almost with a grain of salt and be humble about it because you could just completely ruin it just because you're like cocky about being like the first business you did was successful.
Yeah.
Andy talked about that on one of his podcasts recently.
Yeah, for sure. I heard Andy talk about it and shit. And after about my like 4th failed business, besides like Stable with Ryan, I was like, huh, well, there might be some fucking truth to that.
Mm-hmm.
And
that's when we started preaching that business ownership is not for everyone.
Yeah. Yep. So, and you just get spread too thin. You can't put all your energy into certain things. So it's not good. Not good at all. And I believe once you reach a certain point where you're putting people in place, like, I mean, if you grow a company and you put a integrator in place and you're splitting the visionary role with another, company, sure, you're not going to, exponentially grow most likely, but at least you will be able to handle that a lot better because you passed off like the CEO and integrator roles.
Right.
So.
And we're also not saying either that like you can't expand your business if it's something like in the same field. Like we're talking about you have a snow plowing business and then you also have a plumbing business.
That might work.
That might work. Okay. A pet food store.
There you go. Well, it's like people that are like, okay, let's go. We got a service construction business, and then yeah, we got a pet food store. They are nowhere in the world related.
Yeah.
Like let's say we had our let's say we had a flooring business, but we also sold flooring. Okay,
That makes sense.
that's great. That's awesome. Good on you. But we own a flooring company and we sell light fixtures. What? That's fucking stupid.
Right.
So
Yeah. So we're not saying like you can't.
that's vertical integration.
Yeah. You can have, ones that are related. Buy businesses that are related to your current business, but don't go into different realms.
Right. And if you do, make sure you're established, set up, and you've bought back your time so you can go put that time somewhere else. So it's like we want to buy. We've talked about buying a gym for years, and someday we probably will. But like I said I don't want to fucking put this shit in my brain until I don't have until my only role with Tutor Transformations is visionary.
Yeah.
Until I reach that point, I don't want other businesses. Like I need to have I need everything else going before I can only be visionary before I can do other businesses.
Yeah.
So it's just too difficult and it takes away time, and guess what? Your competition isn't fucking doing multiple things.
Right. Exactly.
So
Exactly. So yeah. Buy back your time.
yeah.
As in find your, why can't I think of buyback rate?
Yeah.
Figure out your buyback rate
Yeah.
and then describe what roles and tasks you don't like doing. Create a role for that
Right.
and find someone to fill it.
So now the other thing I had to talk about today was if you were not given something, if you weren't passed a business by your family, or you weren't already in a good financial position and you had to start from scratch, understand that you may not get everything you want.
Oh, yeah.
You hear a lot of the gurus online that like say you can have anything you want. Sure, that's true. But on what time horizon? And it's not even a guarantee that you can get everything you want with any time horizon. And I'm not saying to not think big or dream big and all that stuff. I'm just saying you got to sacrifice shit. And so when I first got into business, I had a car I really liked. And it was a nice car. But I was starting a business and I couldn't afford that monthly payment anymore. So I had to sell that car. So right off the bat, I couldn't have everything I wanted.
And Sean's been thinking about that car since.
What a heathen, huh?
You want to keep going?
Yeah. And I'm actually looking at getting, I've been looking at buying another one, which is dumb. But it is life. I've actually thought about getting a nice one because they're coming up close to being a collector item. Anyways, you can't have everything you want, and especially with a shortened time horizon. Now, maybe you want the big fancy house. Maybe you want the nice cars. Maybe you want to be able to snowbird or take the vacations, what have you. The issue is you have to build, and you have to build something that maybe you're the first in your family to do, or you're starting from scratch. So it's going to take a while. And you can treat yourself along the way, with little things. But if you are doing something and you're having a little bit of success and you're 3 years in or you're 5 years in and you think you deserve some shit, like, oh, I've been working hard for 3 to 5 years. I deserve a new car. I deserve a nice house. I deserve to start spending my winters in Florida or whatever, in Cabo. Well, you got to be careful that those rewards or those habits don't start to pour into your business, because your actions you took, your sacrifices you made to get you to where you are, if you get rid of those and start to take on the entitled mindset, you could kill your business. And so you could be 5 years deep, think that you deserve some shit, and then bam, you just killed your business. So what I'm getting at is this. You bringing a... Nice. What I'm getting at is this. You can most likely have the stuff you want. You just need a long time horizon. Be careful with rewarding yourself too much. Be careful getting rid of your habits that got you to where you're at and exchanging them for softer, less disciplined habits, because it could cost you your business and it could cost you everything that you've been building and spending your time doing. Look 20 to 30 years out, if you have to, 40 to 50 years out. You can get what you want. It just might take you your life. And you might not even get what you want, but at least you could set your kids up or your grandkids up. The big thing is, I don't remember the percentage, but the majority of wealth is lost in 3 generations. So you need to be less concerned about what you're giving your kids, and you need to be more concerned with what you're teaching your kids, the values the values that you're teaching your kids and that you are leading by example with. That's more important than the money you're passing on. If all they see is a parent who works nonstop, sacrifices family at every stop, doesn't follow a moral compass, does a lot of flashy things where they're buying the new vehicles and they've got the bling and they're like, oh, we deserve this and whatever, your kids are going to be emulating those habits. And when you die, you spent your whole life trying to build this fucking wealth and, generational wealth and all this stuff. You didn't spend the time passing on that knowledge properly to your kids. Your kids are just going to get that shit and fucking lose it. And if they don't, your grandkids will. So what I'm saying is, if you decide you want to be the change agent, Ed Milet talks about the change agent in the family. If you want to be the change agent, you want to be the one in your family who changes the direction of your family, realize it's going to be a lifelong journey. Don't rush it at the expense of destroying relationships or being a bad example, because it won't matter then. All that shit you built won't matter because you've got kids or grandkids or a wife who resent you. So what was it? What was the point of it? You decide to be the one, the change agent, but you fucked it all up. So I think you can get what you want. And I talked about this last week with a friend, earlier this week. You can get what you want with the right time horizon and the right discipline. But make sure on your way to getting what you want that you don't lose sight of the importance of passing that wisdom on to the next generation. Because if you're able to do that, it will have been worth it.
Yeah, I agree. 100%.
That's good.
If you want a movie reference for this, I think Queen Charlotte is a good TV show to watch, a series to watch. And you can see how she had 13 kids and none of them cared to carry on the royal bloodline properly. And I think it's because they didn't actually see what true love was like.
Right.
So they didn't care. They don't care to get married, nothing. They probably are also worried about, like, oh, if I get married, the love of my life is just going to get sick and be useless.
Right.
So yeah, I think it's a good example of not teaching your kids properly.
Yeah. Makes sense.
And then they're just useless.
Then they're useless. I mean, there's so many movies about the husband who works, the husband / father who works too much, and all their kids want them to do is come to their baseball game, or come to their
100%.
basketball game, and the dad is too busy at work to spend time with the kid. The wife resents him. The kids resent the husband, and the whole story is essentially trying to get the husband to realize everything the family wants, he already has. He just thinks he needs money.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying not to chase the money. I'm not saying not chase the company, the growth, all that shit. I am saying that. Do that. But just understand that maybe it taking 10 years longer is worth it so that you're passing it on to kids who are happy to have it and were taught the right things on how to manage it.
Right. And we've talked about it before. There's lots of pretty wealthy people that have kids, and they said one of the things that they always do is when they spend time with their kids, like, that's all it is. There is no business, there is no phone, it is just spending time with your kids.
Right.
And I think that's just very important that, like, no matter how little of time you have, it is 100% their time.
Right. That makes sense.
Well, even, like, already with her, too, we've already seen, like, she hasn't been wanting to play independently lately. Today, she played independently just fine, but would constantly look at me to see if I was paying attention. And as long as I was paying attention, she kept playing by herself. So it just goes to show that even at a young age, all they care about is your attention.
Right. Primo. I think that's all I got.
Cool. I like it.
All right, gang. Thanks for tuning in. We'll catch you on the next one.
See ya.